Keep yourself in the loop of everything football. Listen to Alex and Jeremiah on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Hello there, I'm Jeremiah.
I am Alex, always and forever here.
Dedicated to college and NFL football. The latest football news on and off the field. NFL draft trade rumors. We've got you covered from the NFL, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC, and everything else in between. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football from the latest science dishes, breakout stars, and all of the news in between. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I am Alex.
What's up, man?
Hey, man, what's going on? How's your day been so far?
You mean like since I woke up like 2 hours ago?
I mean, yes, it is 8:25 in the morning.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I woke up at I get 5:30 today.
Well, you do a show before this one, so I understand.
Yeah, it sucks. The sleep thing, I mean, you know.
Uh-huh.
It's okay, though. It's worth it. It's so worth it, bro. Like,
Yeah, I know.
It's, you know, like I like doing these shows. And I do a sports show, obviously. And then Jeremiah, actually, I do a show before this, and then we have this one, and Jeremiah's show after this.
Yeah.
And this is fantasy football show. So if you guys are listening because you like the sport, but you also play fantasy, check him out.
Yeah, check me out, guys.
Check me out.
Yes.
Yeah, do it, man. We have a packed show for you today. We'll be recapping the Monday Night Football action between the New York Giants and the home Minnesota Vikings, who were before this game undefeated. We'll have to talk, tell you if they could maintain that status. We're also going to talk about the Carolina Panthers and the Arizona Cardinals, two teams who, of course, were NFC co-champion, combatants last year. Who are currently both 1-3.
Yes, and it has been a terrible start for both teams.
Yes, you could say that. And then we're going to end the show talking about unfortunate injury news related to pretty much the leader of the San Francisco 49ers defense. Unfortunate news, and we'll get to that in a little while. But first, let's start off with the game of Monday night, and that was the visiting New York Giants taking on the Minnesota Vikings, the second primetime-ish, obviously Sunday night and then Monday night game at US Bank Stadium. It's a beauty. The Minnesota Vikings won this one pretty much hands down, 24-10. Sam Bradford, 26 for 36, 262 yards passing, one touchdown, only 10 incompletions there. They had a decent output from their running backs. Both got a touchdown. And I explained to you earlier in the year when Adrian Pearson went down what these two running backs represented. I said Jerick McKinnon can get space and he'll get you yards, but he won't always get you a touchdown. He had 18 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Matt Asiata will carry the ball 10 times for 10 yards, and he'll get you 10 touchdowns. He went last night 6 for 6 and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, that sums up both of their attributes there. Yeah.
Kyle Rudolph continued a good start to his year with Sam Bradford as his quarterback with a touchdown on 5 receptions and 55 yards receiving. And this defense was lights out again. Eli Manning, 25 for 45, 261 yards, no touchdowns to 1 interception. Orleans Darkwa, 12 for 48 and 1 touchdown on the ground. I remember you talking about him in your fantasy team.
Well, I actually dropped him.
That's my boy.
For Terrence West, and it worked out for me.
I'm proud of you.
Which I will get into more on the Fantasy Football Show. I will talk about Terrence West a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Odell Beckham Jr. had yet another frustrating for himself, frustrating for fans, and frustrating for fantasy football players around the world.
Trust me, I know.
I do too. A performance again, 3 for 23. He had gotten frustrated again. Xavier Rhodes frustrated him with what looked to be, in his eyes, a later hit out of bounds. He really needs to learn how to cap that anger at times. But, yes, not a great game. What's biggest to me here, as I look at this game, like I said, 24-10. At one point, it was 14-0. Ended up ending the half at 14-3, and then 17-3. Pretty much, is the third down efficiency, pretty much. 8 for 16 for the Vikings. That's 50%. 2 for 12 for the Giants. 0 for 2 on fourth. They had 2 turnovers, the interception, and they had a muffed punt. They had a total of almost 11 whole minutes less in possession. They had 4 less first downs, which isn't as big of a deal, but they also had 8 penalties for 69 yards. This team didn't play horribly, but all you have to do is give the Vikings that much, and they take it. They're undefeated for a reason, and they're now 4-0.
Yeah, that's their first 4-0 start since 2009.
2009, yeah, they made the playoffs that year.
Yeah, they did. I think Brett Favre was the quarterback.
I do believe Brett Favre was the quarterback.
Yeah.
I believe they went undefeated until Week 10, where they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. That is the year, though, I do believe they went on to face the Saints, and then it's a championship.
Yeah, it is that year, and that was the year that the Saints advanced to the Super Bowl and then won against the Indianapolis Colts.
Yes,
and that was a very emotional win, too, for the Saints. And the Saints now is a completely different team than that team then. But we're not talking about that. But the Vikings join, I think, the Eagles and
the Broncos.
Eagles and the Broncos as the only 3 undefeated teams in the league right now.
And one of those teams had a bye week. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Vikings, they played well. I mean, everybody expected this defense to do what it's doing, but nobody expected this offense to kind of do what it's doing. Adrian Peterson's out, Teddy Bridgewater's out, and everybody kind of kissed this team goodbye at the start of the year, even though Teddy Bridgewater isn't a top-tier quarterback. They said, there's no way this team now, with already such little offensive production, when he was playing, is going to win that many games, regardless of how good their defense is. Well, currently their defense, as it stands, I don't know if this includes last night's game, but as it stands, their defense is holding opponents to roughly 12.5 yards per game, which would put them second in the NFL. All you have to do is score 2 touchdowns at that rate, and you'll win a game. They're scoring about 22 a game, which isn't, amazing in terms of offense. But with this defense, that's kind of all you need. In their division, again, they are 4-0, followed closely by the Packers at 2-1, and then the Bears and the Lions at 1-3. The Bears now have the tiebreaker because they beat the Lions on Sunday. This Viking team, we're going to have to talk on Wednesday because we talked about it already once. We might talk about it more. They're for real, man.
They are for real.
This defense is playing this is an NFC Broncos team almost, with a less famous quarterback, but also still former number 1, who isn't playing up to his expectations, but actually he's playing great.
Yeah, I know. He's playing a lot better than we thought he was. Sam Bradford for the year is averaging 7.6 yards per throw, per completion, I should say, and per attempt. There you go. That's the perfect word. And he has a completion percentage of 69.5. 69.5. That is good for. We're talking about Sam Bradford here. That is great for him.
He hasn't thrown a pick yet this year.
Yeah, and he has 95 attempts. So that is great. He is probably a great game manager for this team because that's basically all they need him to do. And Jeremy McKinnon played really well for them last night as well. But I think the star of this offense, Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, that kid is good. He has got great hands. He's very shifty. He knows how to run his routes. They're clean-cut routes. I think any receiver that wears a teen jersey in the teens needs to be one of those really crisp route runners.
Yeah.
I feel like for whatever reason, I feel like they need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this offense doesn't have huge names, and they're still out there, producing. They haven't even really got any production from their first-round pick. Yeah,
Laquan Treadwell, he is behind. He's like 4th in the depth chart for some reason.
And understandable, I think just the way that it shapes out, he's still learning maybe in a sense, and his skill set's a little different than them. He's bigger, he's not a net. He's kind of like Kelvin Benjamin. Remember the knock on him was he didn't run crisp routes, but the thing he could always get open, and he's since kind of helped that out, obviously. But he's been playing really well, in the preseason and stuff. I think he'll get time. So I think it's just a matter of time. But like you said, yeah, Sam Bradford's lights out. Jerick McKinnon has always played well in relief of Adrian Peterson. Matt Asiata, like I said, he'll get you in 4 games. He'll get you 25 yards total and maybe 3 touchdowns. That's what he's about. He had literally 6 rushes, 6 yards, and a touchdown. He's like their 1-yard guy.
He is a goal line back.
He specializes in getting a yard.
Yeah.
But the Vikings, I mean, they can very easily, in my eyes, they could start 8-0 right now. As of right now, they had their first 4 games. They go to face the Texans on Sunday.
That's going to be a real good game.
That's going to be a good game because that's what I said in the sports show. They're very similar teams. Not a great offense, both good defenses. I give the edge to, in both of those aspects, to the Vikings. A little bit of a better offense, in my opinion, so far we've seen, and a little bit better defense.
Better defense, too.
Exactly. They face the Bears in the division, who I think that they can.
Before that,
Definitely.
they faced the Eagles.
I skipped one. They faced the Eagles. Yeah. That's going to be a good test, especially for Carson Wentz.
I think that's going to be a defensive matchup right there because
another great defense.
Remember, another great defense versus another great defense. So that's going to be one of the interesting games to watch in Week 7 right there.
And we'll see if both these teams are undefeated at that point. So I'm sorry, Texans, Eagles. Then they face the Bears and the Lions. Both games I think they could win, which are their next 4 games. They could easily be 8-0, 7-1.
Yeah, and then they play Washington right after that. So that's another game I can think they can win.
Yep.
And maybe against Arizona, despite the struggles that they're having, they're still a talented team. So that might possibly be their first loss of the season. But we don't know about how Arizona is going to be at that point of the year. They might be a completely disastrous team at that point. But, yeah, I completely agree with you on this. Like, this team is no joke. And another player that I really like seeing on this Vikings offense is Kyle Rudolph.
I've loved Kyle. Man,
yeah.
You know what's funny? My buddy, I was talking about on the sports show, my best friend Matt, he's a Packer fan, but his dad's a Vikings fan. And so we're sitting there watching the game last night, and it's not the first time, obviously, I've watched any Packer-Viking game, at any point, a Packer game or a Viking game, and you know how much I know about football. So it's always a welcome, right? We're sitting there. This is maybe last season, the season before, and I was like, does Kyle Rudolph have a full tattoo sleeve? Like, when did a football player find time to get a full tattoo sleeve? He would have had to do it as soon as the season ended, in between then and OTAs starting. And I always think that every time I see him, I'm like, when did a man that gets attacked for a living, something that you're not supposed to do to tattoos is get him a hit right after you get him. When did he have time to get a tattoo, especially because you're working out? That's not, believe me, I have 3 tattoos. That's not something you want to do right after getting a tattoo workout. It stretches your skin, it hurts. Because it's realistically an open scab kind of, healing scab is really what it is. I always think that every time I see him. But I've loved Kyle Rudolph. He's from Notre Dame, yes?
Yeah, I believe so.
I always love Notre Dame tight ends. Whether it's him, Eifert, a lot of guys that have come out from Notre Dame. And, yeah, I've always thought he was a good piece in this offense. And he doesn't get the credit sometimes because he doesn't get the numbers. But I think he's one of the better all-around tight ends in the league.
Yeah, and he's finally getting his targets from Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford is the type of quarterback.
Sam Bradford's always loved tight ends.
He loves the tight ends, man, and I'm going to talk about that in the fantasy football podcast because you know how them tight ends are in fantasy. But yeah,
he loved Ertz over in Philadelphia, even though they didn't get the ball to him much.
Yeah,
that last year he's always been a tight end guy. Remember him and Lance Kendricks always used to hook up in
exactly.
St. Louis. Now let's look at the Giants. Now the Giants are sitting, as we speak, not too pretty. They are currently in the midst of the bottom of their division. They are 2-2. They are in last place, because of a tiebreaker, in which they lost to Washington, who are also 2-2. Philly, of course, had the bye week. They are undefeated 3-0. And Dallas, right on their heels, 3-1. Good division this year. Not expected to be like that. But, again, they lost. They won their first 2. They lost their last 2. They have the Packers this Sunday night. They have the Ravens, who weirdly were undefeated, but neither their offense or defense is quite dominating like it ever has, really. Their defense isn't what it has been, and their offense is even less, I suppose, than it has been. It was wacky looking on Sunday. Then they face the Rams, who have been playing as well as anybody. Having lost their first game, people looked at them as the worst team in football to have won 3 straight against legitimate opponents, the Cardinals and the Seahawks included, and have arguably just as good of a defense in aspects as the Vikings.
That defense is no joke as well.
Yeah, that defense is another example of a team that does not score much to win. They scored 17 points, and all they had to do was hold their defense. They held the other team to 14.
Yeah, and they're another team that might be in our For Real segment tomorrow.
Because you know what's for real? That front seven's for real.
Yeah.
That D-line is insane.
And I think you and I both knew that coming in.
Mm-hmm.
We just had concerns about the secondary and the quarterback.
And those have been realistic issues so far.
Yeah.
Moving to the Eagles, and within the division, that's going to be a tough game for them because I do think the Eagles are going to win this division unless they just stumble out of their bye week and the Cowboys kind of take charge of this. I think the Eagles do have a hold on the East so far. And then they finish that next 4-game stretch against the Bengals, who is, of course, a perennial contender. Another primetime game at 5:30. I don't know if that's a Monday night or a Sunday night, though. I probably would assume a Monday night. But the Giants are currently 2-2. They could realistically, in the next few games, they could be 2-6 in a complete flip of the Vikings.
This is the type of team that the Giants are.
They're the Matt Asiatas of a team.
Yeah, they can either be 2-6. 6-2, or 3-3. One of those. They're like one of those type of teams. You don't know what kind of team you're going to get.
You never do.
No, they're one of those teams. They can have 6-2 start, 2-6 start, 4-4. I don't know, 3-3, whatever. It's like they're one of those teams.
They will fumble and intercept and throw interceptions their way to a subpar 500 record.
Yeah.
That they are the definition of a 500 team. The last few years. Them and the Cowboys, excluding last year. I mean, isn't it like I feel like I hear every year the Cowboys are like 60-60 in their last 120. Like they're always 500.
Yeah, no,
like,
exactly.
How does this work?
Every team in this division for the past couple years has been an average team.
Yeah, Washington won it last year, but they were only 2 games above 500. Yeah. Philadelphia obviously had a bad year. Dallas had a horrible year. New York didn't have a great year.
Yeah.
Currently, you have 2 teams at 500.
It's a great year for the NFC East.
It's a great year for 2 teams in the NFC East. Philly and the Cowboys, led by 2 rookie quarterbacks.
Remember, the Giants could easily emerge as the top, but they can also get in last place. They're one of those teams that can potentially win the division or absolutely lose the division.
But you know the thing, though, is they never finish at the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
And weirdly enough, they're always like at least around the late far teens, you know. We're going to take our first break, but I actually want to hit you with some breaking news.
Oh,
and that is that Justin Forsett has been confirmed. He has been cut by the Ravens again. He was benched in Saturday's game in favor of
Sunday's game.
I'm sorry, Sunday's game. He was benched Saturday for Sunday.
Yeah.
In favor of Terrence West, whom you picked up, obviously. He was averaging only 3.2 yards a carry, which tied a career low. He tweeted this morning, "Baltimore will always have a special place in my heart. I love y'all, and thank you for the amazing support over the years. Hashtag, he don't make the law." I don't know what that means, but yes.
Okay.
Justin Forsett
I don't think you read that right.
No, that's what it is. Okay. It says, hashtag, he don't make the law.
Okay.
I don't get it. But, yes, he has been released again by the Baltimore Ravens.
I'm not surprised that Ravens' backfield has been kind of cluttery because they got Javaris Allen, they got Kenneth Dixon coming back this week, and then of course, Terrence West kind of emerged as the leading running back this week against the Raiders. So I'm not totally surprised. It's going to be tough for me to see maybe if Justin Forsett gets another shot because he is close to 30 years old, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll have to see maybe in the right situation
he
could produce.
Hey, that's all it needs is a right situation. But I still think there will be a team to give him a shot this year. He's not completely done.
No, for sure. No. I agree with you. And from that point, I mean, we'll have to keep you updated as to if he gets signed by somebody. We definitely will, of course.
It might happen this week.
I mean, it might. He's not injured, so he has every right to go, and have tryouts and such.
This is the second time cut from the Ravens, too, this year. Mm-hmm. Remember that.
And we thought it was maybe just a weird, roster thing the first time, but yeah, I guess there's writing on the wall.
Yeah.
All right, let's take our first break. We'll come back, and we are going to talk some NFC powerhouses that this year are more like outhouses. Not playing great. So let's take our first break. We'll come back and talk Panthers and Cardinals here in just a minute at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. And you know what? Actually, I lied. We're not going into outhouse talk. We're going into IR talk.
Yeah, you got some explaining to do.
I got mixed up. Yeah, I got mixed up.
Yeah, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah, we're talking NaVorro Bowman first.
Apologize to the people for getting that wrong.
Sorry, peeps. Yeah, we got some injury news to talk about. NaVorro Bowman, unfortunately, is out for the rest of the year. He did tear his Achilles. I mean, that's
contact injury.
Yeah, I feel like that's almost all Achilles tears. But what's worse is I saw Trey Wingo retweet either somebody saying that or him saying it to somebody on Twitter. That the worst thing about it, I mean, it sucks when anybody gets injured. But the worst thing about it is it happened to a guy that just plays football the right way, you know. And it's horrible to see somebody who just came back. This would be his first full season since.
It was going to be his first full season.
Yeah, this would have been since his ACL tear. He didn't play every game last year. This would have been his first season since a serious career injury then, you know, and now he has another serious injury. So unfortunately, yeah, this is tough for the 49ers that already have had issues before. You and I talked about it before we got back going on this. Nick Bellore is the next man to step up for the linebacker as he is injured. He has spent more than 5 NFL seasons in relative anonymity that comes with being a pretty much special teams player, not special player. But you're a 49er fan, and I know my brother is. And I talked to him about it. He says, yeah, you know, it's a shame. You know, I feel like that's a lot of people's Niner fans' favorite player right now. What was your thoughts when you heard about this?
Well, when I saw NaVorro Bowman on the ground, I was like, oh, no. Those are the 2 words I thought of. And I'm not saying that as a Niner fan. I'm saying that as like a football fan.
I was upset about it. Like, I feel bad.
Yeah, NaVorro Bowman's like one of those guys that football fans love to watch. Like, he plays football the right way.
Yeah,
like
I was saying, Wingo was right about that. Yeah.
And it's tough to see where NaVorro Bowman's career goes right after this, because remember, this is like his second serious injury. This is Achilles tear. His first injury.
The same leg, you think?
I'm not quite sure on that.
I'm not sure. I'd have to
on
look.
Top of my head, but
his left leg here. I can find out right now.
But remember that gruesome knee injury in the NFC Championship game in 2013 when Bowman tore his ACL and MCL, and that was a tough injury to look at.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, it wasn't tough in the sense like it was. I was like, ooh, because you could see that
it was. It made you cringe.
Yeah, it's kind of like, oh, like it didn't look like horrible, but you could definitely tell the way it hurt.
Honestly, though, that could have been a lot worse. That injury right there.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much worse. That's pretty bad.
Yeah, but he did set out that 2014 season. I think that was Harbaugh's last year. Matter of fact,
yes, this is the same leg also.
Yeah,
he tore it. ACL and MCL in his left knee, and then he just hurt his left Achilles. So
wow. So it's tough for me to see how his injury is going to play out after this. Like, is it going to be the same player? Is it going to make the same impact?
Yeah,
it's tough to see.
Explosive.
And
I mean, he got hurt back in 2013 and missed the entire 2014 season.
And he missed half of 2015, and he looked like he was about to play this entire year. Remember, his injury really, really affected the Niners' defense in Sunday's game against the Cowboys. Because remember, they got off to a fast start.
He actually started all 16 games in 2015.
Did he? Okay.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He just missed all of the 14 season.
Thank you for fact-checking me on that.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay.
Also, I mean, he's had injuries before. It's typical for linebackers. I mean, he broke his hand at one point and played most of the season with a broken hand. People forget he's been with them since 2010. You know, he was there when Takeo Spikes was still there.
Yeah, he was behind Takeo Spikes for I think like 2 years.
He was behind Takeo. He became the starter the next year.
Yeah, 2011. Okay, yeah, that's right. That's when they had that kind of an emergence in a way, so to speak. Mm-hmm. But it's tough to see where NaVorro Bowman's career is gonna go right after this.
I mean, he's played amazing in his career. He has 636 total tackles, 481 of those are solo. As a middle linebacker, he has 11.5 sacks, which isn't amazing, but still as a middle linebacker, especially in the 4-3 or 3-4 that they run, he wasn't the leading one. Patrick Willis was the kind of main linebacker in the middle, so he would cover a lot. And so you're not always blitzing. So that's still impressive. Career high 5 in 2013 before he got injured. He had total so far 3 interceptions. Didn't really log one until 2012. I remember that very, very famous interception he had in the last Candlestick game.
That was
which he returned for a touchdown.
That was a great play.
Yeah. He has played great. He really has, and unfortunately, he's going to miss another year. It's just almost unfair, Not to mention, he had a rule named after him, the NaVorro Bowman rule. Obviously, it's when he got injured, he got stripped of the ball, and they appeared to take over possession. The rule now is that approved a change that would allow referees to review the recovery of a loose ball. So, he even had, on a fumble, they could recover. They could pretty much zoom in and look when the possession of the ball was taken. He had impact in this game for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, and he was out for the final 21 minutes of play, and the loss of Bowman affected the Niners against the Cowboys. Because remember, the Niners got off to a fast start in that game. They were up 14-0 at one point. They got a couple of costly penalties, but they were in the entire game. And then Ezekiel Elliott just ran wild on this 49ers defense.
Yeah.
At the end there, and he just got hot at the right time. So I think not having Bowman there, like that leadership in the middle of that defense really affected the Niners late in this game.
Oh, yeah. He really is the leader of their defense.
Yeah.
And I think, they're already going to have a tough enough time from this point forward. Before, and now it's going to be
if you thought the Niners season was disappointing, man, you don't know anything yet. And they do have a short week against the Cardinals, which we'll talk about on our Thursday show. And that might be a more intriguing matchup now because there is some injuries to the Cardinals as well, including Carson Palmer. But, yeah, that's all I can really say because Bowman is like one of those guys that is a leader in the locker room, and his play pretty much explains itself. And
you're not wrong about that.
Yeah.
He pretty much, he was, I don't know behind closed doors how vocal he was.
Yeah.
But his play really cemented him as a leader.
Uh-huh.
It's going to be a tough loss, man. As a 49ers fan, I would be upset.
Yeah, it's a tough loss, especially in a lost season. And I know it's only week 5, but
1-3 leading
it's already a lost season.
Yeah, a few tough matchups.
Even if Colin Kaepernick happens to play this season, then I still think it's kind of like a season to build on for next year. That's just me.
/ a season to forget.
Yeah.
All right, let's take our last break, and we will come back and now talk about the same division, NFC West, with the Cardinals, and then the NFC South and the Panthers. And can they really turn this season around after being two teams that were one in the Super Bowl and one in the NFC Championship game? So let's take that break, come back, and we will talk that in just a minute here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And we're back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. We'll talk our last segment of the day, and that is the disappointing start of the Carolina Panthers and the NFC past West winning Arizona Cardinals, who are currently both sitting at 1-3. A very disappointing start for teams that were powerhouses last year. What is going on with these teams? What's the deal?
Yeah. What's up?
Where's the beef?
Where's the net? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't. They have the Carolina Panthers started their season off with a game. Realistically, they probably should have won with that missed kick to end it. The Broncos beating them 21-20. They beat the Niners the next week in a game that they dominated, but at the same time, at one point, almost kind of lost.
At one point, that was a world score game. At one point,
exactly. Yeah. And then they lost in a pretty dominating game by the Vikings. Again, their defense smothering. And then they lost and gave up 500 yards passing and 300 yards receiving to Matt Ryan and Julio Jones in a 48-33 loss. This team has looked lost. The defense hasn't looked dominant. They go to face the Buccaneers, who, I'd expect the Panthers to win, but if they lost, I don't know if I'd be surprised at this point right now. And you look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals, a game they should have won, week 1, I think, in my opinion, against the Garoppolo-led Patriots. And then they dominated the Buccaneers. They're like, okay, don't worry, they're okay. And then they lost to the Bills pretty badly. And then they lost to the Rams, and their offense was non-existent. They have the 49ers this week on Thursday in a game I think they can turn around. But even then, if they lose that game, just like the Panthers, I won't be surprised at this point.
And I'm there with you. I think the thing that we have to talk about these two teams is the quarterbacks on their team. And most notably, Carson Palmer. He hasn't been nearly the same quarterback as he was last year. And he did start off the year with a 2-touchdown game against the Patriots. 3 touchdowns the week after against the Bucs. He threw over 300 yards. But the week against Buffalo, 4 interceptions. Remember, the Cardinals were never in that game.
Not once.
They were never in that game at all. And heading to this last Sunday against the Rams, man, I don't know what to say about this offense. Carson Palmer has 288 passing yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. And he got hurt that same. Well, he didn't get really hurt, but he's under the.
Yeah. Both of these quarterbacks are currently in the concussion protocol,
which is kind of I wouldn't say ironic, but it's kind of a coincidence if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And going to Cam Newton here, he played kind of an average game against the Broncos, but that was a pretty good defense that he faced. And against the Niners, well, he did. That was probably his best game of the year so far, with going 4 touchdowns through the air. And then against Minnesota, that was his worst game, 3 picks. He did have a touchdown on the ground, but 3 picks. You're not going to win many games, turn the ball over.
Mm-hmm.
And then against the Atlanta Falcons, he didn't have any picks in this game, but he was only held to 165 yards through the air and 30 yards on the ground. So he was contained well in this game against the Falcons on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much every time that they face like a legit kind of team, both of these teams for that matter, they have not done well. And the reason why I say these teams lost to legit teams, because I honestly think the Rams are kind of a legit team now because of that defense. That's a defense that's no joke.
Yeah, no, like we said, that front seven is dominant. The secondary is getting better. The linebackers play well. The offense is really the problem there, and it's starting to get it figured out, at least with that defense. So, yeah, the Cardinals are kind of in trouble in that sense because the Seahawks, they win their games.
And the Rams are in first place now.
The Rams are in first place.
So, pretty much their game against the 49ers this Thursday, the loser is in last place.
Yes.
Sole possession in last place. So, this is an important game for the Cardinals to get their season back on track. As for the Panthers, another important game for them to get their season back on track as well against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, they are playing, I think it's a Thursday night game.
No, it is a Monday night game against Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Night.
Yeah,
Okay.
And it's at home. So I expect them to pretty much handle business at that point. But if for some reason Jameis Winston and that Buccaneers offense
just decides to play
and step it up, which I think it could happen because they have that much potential, then I wouldn't be surprised. And I would say they are in trouble from there on out because if you start the season 1-4, if both of these teams start the season 1-4, I don't see any of them making the playoffs at all.
Yeah, I mean, that's very hard to do.
Yeah.
I think if the Panthers lose, they're going to be.
They're pretty much. I think their season's
they'll
kind
be
of
in
like
last place.
Yeah, I think their season's kind of done in a way. Unless they make some drastic turnaround, which could happen, but it doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I mean they have a schedule to kind of do it currently. Buccaneers, Saints, Cardinals, 3 teams that have not played great. As aforementioned Cardinals. So, I want to say right now the Cardinals have a better shot at turning it around than the Panthers. Personally, I just think that they have more of a solidified team and the defense is better. Personally,
okay.
Personally, my
all it comes down to is Carson Palmer turning it around.
Very true.
Because you remember when Palmer was hurt 2 years ago, this was an ugly team to watch. And they were talking about maybe they could have made a possible deep postseason run with Palmer because they did make that playoffs that year too. Remember that?
Yeah.
That's how. Yeah. So that's all I can really say about both of these teams is all it comes down to is the quarterbacks and the Panthers. Their defense needs to step it up. Josh Norman is a huge loss for this team, and we've seen it on Sunday. No one covered Julio Jones. He had 300 yards on you guys. Come on.
Yeah, it's really like they forgot he was there.
He had video game numbers there.
Even that's hard in a video game.
Exactly.
Excuse me. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
He was like Bo Jackson on Tecmo Bowl there, man.
Nobody could touch him. Man, you got that right. Oh man. Well, we'll keep you guys updated on that, of course, following the games this Sunday. Again, if a loss occurred, and the Cardinals on Thursday, of course, you will recap that on Friday. So we'll get into that. But until then, Jeremiah and I will be back tomorrow. But we're done for the day. We are done.
We are.
So,
and we got tomorrow's show. We're going to talk about Josh Gordon. We kind of hold this story off till Wednesday. And then, of course, we got our 2 Wacky Wednesday segments for real and Why Left Wednesday.
What's some of your favorites? Yeah,
they're my 2 favorites. I think they're the best show segments in the entire country.
All right.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
I am hyping it up.
You are. All right. Well, until then, as always, Jeremiah and I would like to thank you for listening. I am Alex.
And I'm Jeremiah.
And we'll be joined by Anthony again tomorrow. So for him as well, we'd like to thank you for listening, and we will see you then. Have a good rest of your day.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.